Hey, this is Terry Bean with another exciting episode of Business Growth Time. We're super excited to have one of the masters of the Twitterverse on with us today, Mr. Gary Loper. But before we get to him, we're going to have my good friend and high school pal, Janet E. Johnson, step up and say hello. And today the E stands for enthusiastic.
He just throws those out just like that, It's kind of a little fun thing that Terry and I have been joking about, that he makes up a different E each time. So it is pretty fun. Pretty fun.
So far.
You can I'm kind of a little nervous of where it's going to go, but but the E is fun. So thank you. And I want to introduce our guest, Gary. If you had watched Social Media Hangout Time when we had our previous show, he actually was a guest on there too. So I have met him before from that, and I actually was introduced to him through somebody else. So that's how it's so amazing, and all of this happened through online marketing. So welcome, Gary. So glad to have you here, Gary.
Thanks, Janet. Terry, I'm excited to be able to be here, and it's an excellent opportunity to share some wisdom with you guys.
You do have some excellent wisdom, and I remember the last time.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There were 2 more E's for you.
Oh. You're adding to Terry's fun here. Oh, good for you. Good for you.
Love it.
Well, I want to give you a proper introduction, and I have some information in front of me, but I'm just going to kind of throw out also a little bit of my own twist because I have known you for a while. We had a great conversation about, what was that, maybe a week and a half ago, and we just kind of went back and forth. It could have been a recorded show, our conversation, because it was just fantastic. And so I said, we've got to just have you on so that we can kind of repeat what we were talking about. But Gary is known for Twitter. I know he's got a massive following on Twitter, and you're there. You really exist there. You're a life and business coach, mindset coach, motivational speaker, trainer, former talk radio host. I can tell by your voice, by the way, and highly respected entrepreneur, helping people master the business of life by building better relationships. And we will be also talking about his book, 3 ebooks, Master the Twitterverse, Guide to Getting More Followers, 37 Keys to Building Better Networking Relationships, and 20 Secrets to Building Better Love Relationships. So he even has a love book. Cool. Well, thanks, Gary. Well, let's get into, we're going to focus in on the one, building better networking relationships. So let's go and get started there.
All right, cool. Well, I really think, like we've talked about it as we're getting ready here, either networking relationships are both online and offline, and I believe it's the same rules. And one of the biggest things that I saw in running local networking groups and seeing things on there, really, we need to differentiate ourselves from everybody else. We were talking, we got a common friend in Bob Berg, and I've studied with Bob Berg in the Go-Giver philosophies and the endless referrals. And one of Bob's little sayings is his golden rule of business networking. It states that all things being equal, people are going to do business with and refer business to people they know, like, and trust. And I think over time that know, like, and trust has almost become cliche. Everybody's throwing it out. Oh, you got to build a know, like, and trust. I like to focus on the beginning of that all things being equal. And social media, even in live things, because if you go to a live networking event, there's probably several people, if it's a large enough group, who are doing the same thing or similar things to what you're doing. So that all things being equal, really to me, is how can you differentiate yourself from everybody else so that you become top of mind? And you'll build the relationship, and you want to build the relationship primarily with the thought in mind, you may not do business with me, but you represent 250 live people that you know that you could invite to your wedding or funeral who will show up to you. And so you're the gatekeeper for everybody else that you know. And so if you don't need Twitter services from me, or if I don't need to buy a lipstick from somebody, you don't sever the relationship or continue to be able to build something just because it's not an immediate sale, but to be able to think about your community and how can you serve them by recommending people that you trust and have the rapport and they're top of mind, and say, hey, I know if you need lipstick, this is the best stuff. No wax, no paraffins, whatever it is, and this is the one, and she's a great person to be able to do it. And I think that's what a lot of people miss when they do networking anywhere, is how can you be able to be different, and how can you extend that relationship to be about them and look at it as a long-term thing as opposed to trying to close the deal on the first date. How many networkings have we been there now? It's, hey, events, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. Oh no, and then they're gone. Or if you do buy, yeah, or if you do buy it, they still move on because they're still in that churn mechanism. Instead of looking at relationships need to develop over time. If we're dating, relationships that close a deal on the first date, a little bit of fun perhaps, but the long-term probability is not so good. But relationships that develop over time, 10, 15, 20, 30 dates that develop naturally, then the deal's closed. Now you have a potential lifelong partner and relationship or customer or ambassador to your program.
Couldn't agree with you more. I really like the point about I liken it to the idea of having to own spot one in your network's mental Rolodex, right? When they're thinking about a problem or a solution, what do you want them to think of when they want to think about you? How do you put yourself on that card in that Rolodex that you're the first spot that they're thinking of? And I think you kind of summed it up nicely about all things being equal, because if you don't separate yourself there, you're not going to own that spot. And Bob's quotation has rung well for a long time about all things being equal, for sure. What a wonderful guy, man. Shout out to Bob Burg, burg.com, burg.com. Take a look, take a listen. Good stuff there. What do you think, Janet?
It brings back exactly what you were talking about. We've been actually talking a lot about networking recently, and so I completely agree. I'm just listening. Gary, you're such a great speaker, and I'm kind of absorbing at this point. So it was really good, very good information. The dating thing makes sense. I mean, obviously, unless there's that physical attraction first date, it does take time. I hear this online all the time, and I'm sure you do too. I want it to work now. Where's the ROI now? I hear that constantly from businesses. They want that instant ROI, and they don't want to take the time to build the rapport. So what you're saying makes so much sense, and people need to remember that social media, online marketing, network marketing, or networking out there is all about building rapport, and it's not going to happen overnight.
No, it can't. And I think really where we can be able to come top of mind for people is realize, and this was one of Bob's books, again, we'll steal the title, but it really is apropos. It's not about us. And if we focus on the needs of other people in networking, to be able to be interested in who they are, what's going on with them, what's going on with their family, events that that are going on, and if we can remember that and keep that focus, and we can do the same thing online, is use somebody's name when you tweet them. Dale Carnegie said, the most beautiful sound of anybody's ears is the sound of their own name. So to be able, you can use their name on social media. And it's also another wonderful thing. Well, we're going to reference Bob Burg, as the endless referral system is really entrenched. But Bob had a great suggestion: is when you meet somebody again for networking at a networking event, reintroduce yourself by name. Hi, Gary Loper. Because a lot of times people aren't going to remember you. So unless you've already made a conscious effort to say, I'm going to be a speaker, I'm going to do this, and you do some of the memory techniques to be able to remember everybody's name and lock it in, it's gone in people's minds. So give them the opportunity. How many times have people come up to you and say, "Oh yeah, I remember you," and da 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 da, and you don't remember them, and there's no point of reference. But just give them their name and let them know what you do again, and focus.
That's a great tip. That's a great tip. I mean, how many we recognize people?
Yeah.
I've been at many events where we're like, "Oh, I'm a Facebook friend of yours," but and so I don't think about introducing myself, and I probably don't. I guess I don't know, but I'm guessing I don't actually say my name. So that's a great tip.
The part I love about it is it alleviates some embarrassment. People are a little too shy to ask you for their name when they don't remember. And ultimately, most people are going to say, "Oh, yeah, we've met a couple of times. I'm Terry Bean." And they're going to tell you their name, too, so you don't really have to ask theirs. What impresses me, we've had Bob up here in Detroit a couple of times. I've hosted him come do a couple of talks. And Bob will meet people before the event. Yeah. And in an hour and a half, 2 hours in, he'll ask the people that he met to stand up. And normally there's anywhere from 17 to 25, maybe 30. And systematically he will call each one of them by name because he remembered their name. And that just goes such a long, long way with people, for sure.
Yeah, I know Bob, in coaching with Bob, he shared that the memory book by John Lucas and Harry Lorraine was one of the things. So there's actually memory techniques. It's like when we started and you asked about the pronunciation of my name. And so that was a little thing. So, it's a low purr, like a low purring cat. And so you can create a visual picture. So there's a little bit of a technique about looking for somebody's distinguishing feature and sort of making a little rhyme or a story in your head of what that means, so that becomes impressionable and you lock it in. So then you could probably say something about my hair, Harry Gary, a low purring cat or something, and sort of be able to lock it in, or whatever triggers work for you.
I'm going with Persian now, buddy, because you said that. You got that look, man. Got that look.
But one of the things too that we talked about, I wanted to point out again, is the not about you, and even online and offline as well. I teach people in a Twitter class is when you're going to write a blog post or you want to get a tweet that you want people to click on, people are only really looking for solutions for their problem. They don't care what you do, what your name of your company is, or anything else until you can be able to solve a problem for them. So I tell people, when you write a blog post, don't fall in love with your title, because your title is only going to catch a narrow audience, people who resonate with that. But all of our blog posts have 5 or 6 brilliant points on other problems that we're going to solve for people. So if we write up a different title for each one of those, those will be solving problems. It's the same kind of theory that the Star, the Inquirer, and Cosmo use when you're in the grocery line. You're checking out, and those magazines are there, right? So how do they get you to pick up those magazines? Short, sexy titles that grab your attention, that in some way get the guy, lose the guy, gain the weight, lose the weight, go this vacation, try this recipe. In some way it's solving a problem for you, so you'll pick it up and look for that solution. And I think that we can take that to offline marketing, is really look at having our presentations or our probing questions and being problem solving. What problems do we solve for people? Because that's really what all of this is about. People are looking for solutions, and we're in a solution-solving business, problem-solving business. And if we focus on them, it's not about us, it's about them and what we can do and what we can get from. And then when we do this in these go-giver ways, we'll be compensated well for it.
We just had this conversation, didn't we, Terry?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
About not expecting back. Because if you give and see what you can do for them, it may or may not come back to you, but it's not to worry about that.
Well, that's in The Go-Giver Sells More. This will be the Bob Berg tribute hour. But in The Go-Giver Sells More, Bob talks about the law of left field. that go-givers give for the sake of giving, not with the expectation that you're going to get from where you gave, but knowing that the universe is going to be able to return in kind from unexpected places, unexpected people at unexpected times. Like that, it came out of left field, so, and that's why I kind of look at, I expect miracles, because I know that we're planting all of these seeds, and I know that it's there, and I expect the unexpected, and knowing that that stuff's going to come around to me. And that's why, I share as much as I do on social media, because I know that a lot of those tweets have impacted people's lives on a daily basis. And recently I learned a year ago, one of the tweets saved a life. So it's it's
Wow.
really, we don't know the impact of what we're going to be able to do with people, but we just continue to be able to do it. And I think, we're here to be able to serve a greater good. And if we can touch their lives, whether they do business with us or not, I think that becomes a magnet that other people who, vibrate the same way that we do are going to be attracted to us, and they're going to say, hey, can you come and be a guest on our show? Can you want to partner with us, or you want to do this? Can we work together some way? And so that's my philosophy. I'm going to stick with it. That you just put it out there, and it's going to come back to you, tenfold.
Sometimes eightfold, sometimes 40-fold, but absolutely, you put it out there, it comes back. We talk about the idea of the law of reciprocity and the law of generosity all the time, and the why networking actually works. And the law of reciprocity, very simple, is I do good by you. Most times, people are going to go out of their way to reciprocate and return the favor. And the law of generosity, very similar, is I do well by you. You may not do anything, but the universe is actually paying attention, and the universe is going to return the favor. So that's very similar to what Bob talks about as coming out of left field, for sure.
Exactly, and that's one of my philosophies in reaching out on LinkedIn, for example. So there's kind of the bridge between online and offline marketing, networking, is when I do a friend connection and you accept my friend connection, I'm going to go and hit all the endorsements for all of your skills before we have a conversation. I'm just going to go hit it. You got 50 of them, I'm going to go click every single one of those skills for everybody that I connect with. Knowing, again, I'm going to plant those seeds. And so, like you said, a lot of people are going to return in kind, so they're going to come back. And so my skills, all of my numbers are raising rapidly. But so that's a side benefit of doing it, but to be able to give first and be able to help them create some credibility.
Great tip.
Interesting.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Just started using that endorsement feature in the last couple of weeks. I've been getting endorsements for a very, very long time, but I didn't reciprocate, because when you get endorsements from people that you don't know for things that you don't do, it loses some of the authenticity a little bit in my mind, and it makes it seem a little disingenuous. So well, I'm intrigued by what you just said, because philosophically I've read your website and I've listened to what you said, and you and I seem really aligned. So it's interesting that we disagree on that.
Well, but you can be able to control those skills that you put up on LinkedIn. You can edit them, and you can take out the ones that aren't appropriate, that you don't want to be able to feature.
That's right.
And so if you only want people to recommend the stuff that you want to focus on, that's, again, all your choice, and just filter it out the other stuff.
Yeah, I've got a bunch that aren't on there because people just make up stuff, as far as I'm concerned. I'm like, hey, thanks, but I don't know anything about that.
They automatically pull it from your profile and what you put in, and they may add things that, so you do need. I just recently heard that you need to clean that up. So there's a tip for everyone. Go clean up your profile and clean those up, because there might be weird things in there, like you just said.
There's monsters. They're definitely.
Yeah.
Good.
That's awesome.
Good. Go ahead, Terry.
I want to ask about Twitters. You have a crazy amount of Twitter followers, over 130,000. You wrote a book about how to get more Twitter followers. Do you have any specific tips that you might share that might lead people to want to pick up the book?
Well, probably the biggest mistakes that I've seen people make in doing a lot of consultations with people is they're not taking advantage of that first impression. The most valuable real estate on Twitter is your profile, your picture, and your banner. This is your online business card. And when people click onto that, you've got 4 to 10 seconds to be able to impress upon them who you are, what you do, how you can be able to help them, and what they can do next. And all of that's going to go into their mind before they read any of your tweets. So in order to be able to be found and grow your followers, your profile, you've got 160 characters there, but they're all search engine optimized. So you don't want to use a lot of superfluous words like, I like to work with people who this. You're a life, business coach, mindset coach, speaker, author. Again, what are people searching for that you can be able to solve their problems? What are the keywords on your website? Those are the same words that should be in your profile. Your picture. Pictures are a huge thing. Your picture, people should recognize you in a grocery store from your picture. If you got a glamour shot from 15, 20 years ago, or if your hair is completely different than what it was, if they don't recognize you, they're not going to see it. A lot of people want to be able to put a logo. My wife's a graphic artist. We love to do logos for people, but social media, it's the same thing. Your smile needs to be your first logo. Get a good head and shoulder shot, again, so they can recognize you, be able to be on there. Your logo can go on your banner. On Twitter, they've got a big banner behind your picture, and again, that's your billboard. I've restated my profile up there because people's natural eyesight will go top center. So you'll see my profile again. Those keywords are there. You see the links to my ebooks, how you can connect with me, the logos there, and information about the Twitter party. I think that's the biggest mistake, because people are going to look upon you and they're going to be searching for those terms. And if you can start by having an attractive profile that lets people know what you're doing, what you can do for them, you'll start attracting them. Then we can start talking about how you can be able to fill your stream with effective tweets. And effective tweeting, I've come up with 4 E's. So your E should...
Oh, look, E! I'm just kidding.
But your tweet should contain 1, if not more, of these 4 E's. So they should be entertaining. And entertaining is subjective. So you have to learn what your audience is going to respond to. So if they don't get your joke, then it's you. Put pictures, put cats, put videos, something out there that's going to be able to be safe that a lot of people are going to respond to. It can be educational. But that's not an invitation to be able to tell us how good your juice is for the conchus and my bonkus and how it's going to cure this. But if you're doing health products, for example, then bring in articles from Mayo Clinic or Johns Hopkins and something else that substantiates what you do. And when people talk to you, and I recommend this. Don't become a company salesperson. Be a health expert in that way. Your tweets should create. They should enhance the people's lives. And this is where I share those motivational quotes all the time. Zig Ziglar said that motivation doesn't last, but rather there's bathing. That's why we need to do both every day. Every day somebody is responding to those messages. Hey, this is a great reminder. Thanks for this. My teacher used to say this. My grandma used to say this. And motivational quotes are the most frequently retweeted item on Twitter. Mm-hmm. It also gives your audience something safe that they can be able to retweet and be able to endorse you without having to commit to retweeting your blog or your promotion. Because if they don't know you well enough to be able to say, okay, because you look at a retweet being a semi-endorsement. But if you have something else that's safe for them to be able to retweet, they can be able to share that, and people can find you, and then they can be able to find that information themselves. And the 4th E is to create engagement. And like we've talked about, in order to get engagement, you have to give engagement. Your audience needs to see that you're talking to other people. They need to see that you're retweeting your influencers, your mentors, somebody with maybe a higher stature than you, or even talking to everybody. It's amazing the new people that will follow me, and I'll respond to them, and they'll go, "Oh, well, you got so many followers, and you're talking to me." And it's like, all right, well, I'm not, we're not far apart at all, if at all. So I'm not going to create a separation just because I've been here longer and I, cracked the nut when some of this, on how to be able to get some of these things. But a lot of people will start out and think, okay, well, I'm just going to go out there and say, well, what do you think about this? And wonder why nobody's talking to them, talking back. 40% of the active users on Twitter are virtual voyeurs. They're watching, they're absorbing, so if you're doing a presentation, about half the audience has their head down and they're taking notes and they're just pulling it in and nodding. Same thing on Twitter. They're just absorbing, looking at what's going on, weighing out what differentiates you, how can you be able to do that, and so I can be able to feel good in recommending you or reaching out to you for help when I need it.
Very cool.
I love the 4 E's and engagement across the board. But the 4 E's that you just said though could work on any social network.
Yeah, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And in real life situations.
That's true too. Mm-hmm.
In life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and another thing too, in real life, and again, in another differentiation, is we want to be able to stay close to our vision and our purpose about our why we're on Twitter, why we're networking. So, if I want to be able to teach people about Twitter, we're going to talk a lot about Twitter, but the people also they're looking for bridges that they can connect to you with. I know one guy who, was a big Star Trek fan. The first Star Trek with Kirk and Spock and Sulu, and so he started sharing some of that, and he found other people who were, who still, who thought that show was still the best. So they had this mutual connection, and they created business from that. Another friend of mine is a speaking coach, and she had a bout with lung cancer. She attributed her lung cancer to gluten issues. So she started going on a gluten-free, and she interjected a lot of that gluten-free and those health things into her stream, because our lungs are important as speakers, and our health is important. So there's a natural tie-in. So she connected with a lot of other people who had some of those same concerns. So don't be afraid to share your personality and share some of your other interests. If you go to networking events, and people are just standing up and giving their 30-second commercials, nobody's listening. They're here. There's a couple people that I've been networking with. I've seen them for 15 years. They say the same thing, and I still don't know what they do. Inject your personality. What do you do? What's your favorite show? Where's your favorite vacation? What have you done? And then just give them a little bit of a tagline, 4 or 5 words on what you do. You want to be able to look at what's that differentiation, what makes you different, that you're not a robot, you're just coming out there, da 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 da, and some little cute little hook. Nobody's listening. Give them something to listen to.
Exactly right.
So I'm curious. You have 2 different ebooks. One of them is about love relationships. One of them is about networking relationships. But you have 17 more tips for networking than love. How is that possible?
I think love is complicated enough by itself, so we purposely tried to make it simpler.
Nice. I like that.
That's a good answer.
That is a solid answer indeed. Did you manage to do that? Do you feel like you got it?
Yeah, I got it. It's always a work in process with love relationships, and I think I really believe that we're attracted because of the physical stuff, the sunshine and balloons, the initial part of the relationship. But I really think on a deeper soul level that our relationships, our love relationships, most importantly, are there to be able to help us both heal our stuff. So we're going to continue to be able to be a mirror and be able to not always be our best. But if we know that we can be able to, hey, we're in this together, we're looking to be able to support one another, and things are going to get ugly. We may say a lot of things that we regret, but we're really here to be able to grow and to be able to go through things. You know, a lot of people, and we talk about this a little bit in the book, a lot of people will continue to chase that high in relationships. You know, there's a natural hormone that's produced in the body when you first meet somebody and you fall in love. There's a 17-syllable hormone. You know, it's the short name is PEA, and it's kind of a love drug. So you don't see the seat up, you don't see the dishes not done, you don't see the the underwear missing in the basket. You don't see any of those things, but that hormone kind of wears off after 2.5 or 3 years. And so if you see a lot of people going through relationships, they go through that 2-3 year cycle, then they're going on to something else. Well, it's not working, everything else. Well, it's okay, so now it's time to work. Now it's time to work.
Or put the blinders back on, one of the two. Maybe they should get like an injectable of that PEA, man. That would be good.
Well,
we should bottle that.
Well, probably even finding ways to be able to stay in love every day. And that's what we talked about, that is learning the love languages. Gary Chapman wrote a great book called Love Languages, and it found out that everybody has 5 basic ways that they feel loved. So, and we all feel love differently, the same way that we're all motivated differently. So we all feel loved, we're all motivated, but those things happen differently. So we find out from our partner what they want. Here's a great story. My first coach, after 17 years of marriage, his wife called him up one day and said, "Meet me downtown." And he goes, "Well, why?" She says, "Just meet me downtown." So he gets downtown, meet on the corner, and he looks at her and says, "Okay, well, what's going on? Why are we here?" So she just flings her head like, "Follow me." You go into the building, get into an elevator, come out, they're at a marriage counselor. And he's going, "Well, why are we here? What's going on?" She says nothing until they get into the office where the therapists go through, and he eventually says, "Okay, well, why are you here?" "Well, he doesn't love me." And he goes, "What do you mean I don't love you? I hug you all the time." You never say the words. Some people, their first thing is that physical attachment. Some of the words, there's time, there's gifts, there's acts of service. Those are all things, and when we can find out what our partner's primary love languages are, and we can communicate to them that way, and they can learn ours, we can be able to have a much better relationship. And that extends too in our business. We know from our customers, when they're complaining to us, they're telling us how they need to be loved. Hey, well, you didn't do this, or that didn't this, or this didn't. They want to be loved. They want to be reached out to. And so we have to be able to realize that the way that we grow up, was not the way that everybody else experienced the same thing. So we have to be able to be open to the possibilities that there are different ways and people respond differently. And so if we want to be able to put ourselves in a public, especially like a public position, we have to be able to be really open to a lot of different possibilities.
That just Googling the 5 love languages, just to get a paragraph of each one, just a short description of each of the 5, honestly, because I was familiar with them, saved my relationship. Because I couldn't see any way how we were showing each other love. And what she was doing was absolutely repelling me, and what I was doing had no value to her either. And as soon as I figured it out, it clicked, and we're 180 degrees better off. And you're so right on about your customers and understanding how to love them up. Great, great, great story. We're at time. How do people find you? And then we're going to have Janet wrap this little episode up.
Gary Loper. You can find on Twitter at Gary Loper, GaryLoper.com, Facebook you find me on Gary Loper, LinkedIn Gary Loper. Just type it in. So I'm the only one that looks like this, a distinct look. There may be
you like Kenny Rogers, man. And Neil Donald Walsh. We covered that.
Yeah, I've had lots of them. But yeah, There's 11 other Gary Lopers on Facebook, but the only one that looks like this.
You read and share great material, Gary. Thank you.
Very, very good. Yes. And
Janet, it's a pleasure.
thank you. So let's wrap it up with, we have to have our fun though, Terry. We have to have our fun.
Yeah. Get to it. Yeah.
So people don't need to hang out for this. They know where to find you. One last thing is find us on Facebook, join our group. We'll add you to the group also, Gary. It's just search Business Growth Time, and then we have a Facebook group there. And you can find all these show notes on our website too, businessgrowthtime.com. We have a fun game because we like to play this. We sometimes do at the beginning, sometimes middle. You were so entrancing that I just didn't want to interrupt it, so I wanted it to keep going. We play a song. So Terry, why don't you introduce what we're doing here while I pull it up?
So we decided to have a little game, a little fun. We pick a song normally from the 80s. It had to show up in a movie. So we want to hear your guess or your answer to song name, artist name, and then the movie that it was in. So, and I'm sure this one's been in more than one movie, but I had one in particular in mind.
And if you don't get it, it's okay too. It's just for fun.
You're not the only one.
Because Terry stumps people. So here we go.
She couldn't help thinking that there was a little more to life somewhere else. After all, it was a great big world, but that's the places to run to. Yeah, they say go out the top, try and see that one little brother should have got the key. Oh yeah, alright.
Do you know any of it?
Okay, well, it's American Girl by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Oh,
Nice.
You're good.
Movies. I
think it was 1981. It might have been 1982. Iconic high school movie.
Well, for those of you who went to school in the 80s. So
Right. It wasn't Grease, man. My bad.
I was the 70s. I graduated 71. Oh.
I'm glad it's the end of our show because I don't know if you can hear that noise, but it's our hose running. So sorry about that.
That's funny. Noise. I was wondering.
I don't know. Ridgemont High.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got it.
That's exactly what it was. Look at you. Man,
you got it.
I don't know what you win, but you totally won.
Okay, so was that when?
That's the first one that said all three, and we have like this is crazy. The noise. I'm so happy the show's over with because the noise in the background.
So let me just get. So is that when she was walking out of the swimming pool? Did they play it?
Man. No. That was.
No. That was
possibly the best scene of all movies.
Right. Yeah, that was awesome. You're the first person. You do win a prize because you are the first person to get all three pieces. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and if I got the scene right, so then there's another bonus. So there's something to add to the future.
Exactly. I guess we'll have to figure out a prize, huh, Terry?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks, Gary, and thanks all of you for listening. And catch up with Gary, especially on Twitter. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Happy tweeting.
Enjoy.